Season 2 here. We're gonna have to update our settings. Without further ado, let's head right in. So we're first gonna start off at with the controller settings. As you can see, I play on tactical. I do play on PlayStation 5. I do have me a DualSense Edge controller. And then for my horizontal stick sensitivity, my vertical stick sensitivity, I do have that set on 1.0. This is kind of dependent on your preference and stuff like that. I personally changed up my game a little bit and I wanted to kind of play a little bit more slower. I felt that my character was moving a little bit too fast and sometimes I was kind of missing my shots, unable to kind of control that recoil and whatnot. And then you want to kind of go, I have all these turned off. I don't deal with any of those. And then from the controller vibrations, I have that turned off. You don't want your controller to be shaking while you're shooting your gun or while you're getting shot at. I have this turned off. Let's dive into your dead zones. Each controller is quite different. Everyone has a different dead zone. Each person have a different controller. Each person has different stick drift and stuff like that. As you can see, so my left stick minimum, I had that set on 1, and then my left stick max, I cannot talk today, I had that set on 65. And then for my right stick minimum, I have that set on 0. And then for my right stick max, I do have that set on 100. And then for my L2 button and my R2 button, I also got these put on 1. And that is pretty much it for my controller settings that tap into the aiming settings. So as you can see, I have the target aim assist. I have that turned on. You want to make sure that's turned on so that way you can get aim assist. And then I have this also turned on to the ADS aim assist as well. I have this turned off. And let's go into I believe it's the advanced aim settings or whatnot. And so I do have this on instant. I do have this on assist here. And then for your aim response curve type, you want to set that to dynamic. So I have that on dynamic. And then for your aim response curve slope scale, I have that on 1.0. I haven't never messed with this. I've always had it on 1.0, so I would say do the same. And then for your per zoom, I have this on off. And then I don't even mess with any of these or anything like that. So let's tap into the movement. So for your movement, I have sprint assist. I got that on tactical sprint assist. I have that on that. And then let's tap into the square button. For the sprint assist delay, I have that on 0. And then for the sprint assist sideways, I have that on. And then sprint assist backwards, I have that on as well. And then for the mantle assist, I have that on off. And then I also have the rest of these off as well. I have this sideways, backwards, tactical sprint on. I do have that on because that's, like I said, I want that tactical sprint to stay on. And then the mantle assist angle, I got that on tight. And then for the crouch assist, I have that on off. And then I have this one on tactical sprint, crouch assist tactical sprint. I want that on. And then corner slicing, that just kind of depends on your preference. Some players like this, some players don't. I personally don't mind it. Now this is more of like a multiplayer wall jump assist. That is kind of depends on your play style. I have this on forward only. You can get it for sideways only on or turn it off. I have it on forward only, so that way when I do jump off a wall, I'm always heading forward versus jumping from side to side and whatnot. Once again, this depends on preference. This is the slide/dive behavior. I do play on hybrid. I personally do like, dolphin diving and stuff like that. Some people play on slide only. Once again, just kind of depends on your preference and stuff like that. I do like hybrid. Some people don't like hybrid, some people do. I'm one of the ones that do. Now this, I do have this on automatic airborne mantle. I do want that turned on. and then sprint restore. You want to make sure you keep this on, and then slide maintain sprint. So what these two do is, like, when you're sliding, you want to make sure you're still sprinting as you're sliding and stuff like that. So that's there. And then this is for like your parachute behavior and whatnot. So for an example, if you're a Warzone player like myself, what that does, that allows you to pretty much free fall without your parachute deploying and stuff like that. Now keep in mind, it's a double-edged sword, because you will hit the ground and chance of you breaking your legs is pretty high. Unfortunately, I do break my legs a lot, so it's kind of a given. Wall jump, that is pretty much based off of you again. If you're a multiplayer person, you want to leave this on press. And then combat roll, I always have this on. Slide / combat roll behavior, I got that on tap to slide. Now I have back triggers on my DualSense Edge, and so I just normally press the left, or I normally just press the left one here, and it automatically lets me slide and stuff like that. For the camera roll camera, for the combat roll camera, excuse me, I got that on third person. You can have that on first person. It just kind of depends on your preference and stuff like that. And then the movement advanced settings, that just, once again, this all just depends on preference and stuff like that. Auto move forward, I got this off. Auto door peek, I got that off. I do got the tactical sprint activation, I got that on single tap sprint. And then I got this on, you know, all those. Regarding the vehicle behaviors, I don't even mess with those, to be completely honest with you guys. I never once mess with that. Let's move over to combat. So for aim down sight behavior, I have that on hold. Tactical stance behavior, I have that on toggle. And then, you know, I have this on ADS down button, and then I got that on ADS melee, and then hold melee. For the body shield / finishing move behavior, once again, that just depends on your preference and stuff like that. I used to prioritize my finishing move, but I kind of started to like picking up people and kind of talking smack to fools and whatnot when I'm playing the game, and so I'll use them as a body shield or something like that. But once again, that just depends on preference and stuff like that. This is for like when you're playing Warzone. You have the option to add one plate at a time or add all of the plates. It just kind of depends on your play style and stuff like that. I don't really mess with the C4 equipment behavior. I don't mess with none of this stuff. Combat advanced settings. I do play on prioritize interact. And as you can see, weapon mount exit, I got that on instant. I got mantle cancels reload, I got that on off. Sprint cancels reload, I got that on off as well. So what those two do is, like, if you're about to mantle, it'll stop you. If you're about to mantle, it'll stop your reload. I don't want that to happen. If you're running or if you're sprinting away, it'll stop your reload. I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to mantle, reload, or run away and reposition and reload, so I can still engage people in a gunfight and stuff like that. And honestly, I didn't mess with none of these. I got this turned off, I got this turned on, and that is pretty much it for the combat behavior. Yeah, I didn't mess with none of these, so to be completely honest, I don't know what none of these do. I guess let's go into graphics. So I do have a 1440p monitor. It is compatible with my PlayStation 5. So I do get 120 frames per second as when I do play the game and whatnot. Not quite PC, but you know, I do get 120 frames per second. And then from here, for my brightness, I got that on 60%. And then I just got this got that there. And then for the world motion blur and the weapon motion blur, I have that on off. Depth of field, I got that on off. And for fidelity cast, I got that on. And then for fidelity cast strength, I got that all the way to 100. And then I got this on my optimize and whatnot. And then I don't think I mess with these. I got this off though. And then for my view, whether I'm playing Warzone or multiplayer, just kind of depends on whoever's playing. But I run 120 field of view, and then ADS field of view, I got that on effective, and then weapon field of view, I got that on wide. So reason why I have those is because I want to make sure that when I am playing the game, I don't want it to have a lot of recoil on my gun, and I don't want it to zoom closer. I want it to shoot away, because it'll make your gun feel like, you know, more way you can control it and stuff like that. Vehicle field of view, I got that on wide. First person camera movement and third person camera movement, I have that on less 50. And that's kind of what I got here. Inverted flashbang, that just kind of depends on your preference and stuff like that. I have mine on. I just pop a stem and it goes away automatically. And that's pretty much it for the view. Let's check out my settings. So, or not my settings, but my audio settings. So for my audio settings, for the master game volume, I do have that set on 100. Let's press square real quick. For the gameplay music, I have this on 0. I don't want to hear any background music or anything like that. And then I got this set on 30. And then for the effects volume, I have this set all the way up, so that way you can hear footsteps and stuff like that, or there's someone's, you know, falling on you or whatnot. Cinema music, I got this turned off. Enhanced headphones mode, I have this on. Now, since I play on console through the PlayStation 5, I do have the option to utilize another, I guess, enhanced mode. So all I really do is I go to audio focus, click on that, and I have the option to turn this on, and so that'll give me more of an enhanced volume through my headset. Now, as you can see, it says focus type. I can boost quiet sound, so that's footsteps, that's, you know, people falling in from a parachute and stuff like that. You know, I can just left or right, you know, separately, or I can do it together. I want this to be weak. I normally just keep this how it is, adjust level. I want it weak. I don't want it to be too loud, because if it gets to the point where it's too loud, it gets, I can't really hear. I want it to be just at a level where I can hear pretty much everybody. So that's that. And then this is kind of dependent on your preference and your play style, but for the audio mix, I run Sucker Punch. I kind of go back and forth from Art Mix to Sucker Punch. It just kind of depends on your play style and your preference, but I do keep Sucker Punch here. I have this turned off. And then I have this turned off, but I do have this turned on, and then I don't even mess with these here, to be completely honest with you. And then reduced tendency sounds, I have that on, and then hit marker presents, I got that on default and whatnot. And honestly, y'all, that is pretty much it for the settings videos. If you guys did like my settings, or if these settings help you, please consider like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.